D-Mace, Fingen, and Donick coming at you today on a Tuesday. Willie Donick, Derek Mason here with you. David James behind the glass. Adam Vingen enjoying a little paternity leave.
Oh, yeah.
Happy dad of two now. Congratulations once again to him and Bridget. And so he'll be back with us on Monday. The week continues. And we got another great show for you today, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. So we're going to hit a little bit of everything today. Mitch Light is going to join us at 3:45. We'll talk a little bit about the Joey Aguilar decision that has come down, the Vanderbilt basketball situation, and a little introduction to college baseball. What does the post-Tony Vitello Tennessee roster look like? And what about Tim Corbin's Vanderbilt squad? They're in action this afternoon, as a matter of fact, and we'll see what the early returns look like with them. Trevor Matich is going to join us at 4:20. We'll get some combine insights from him. Robert Saleh did an interview today with Rich Eisen, which we'll play you a couple of clips from, and we will break that down. Interesting thoughts. And then at 5 o'clock, Barry Trotz, the Predators general manager, will join us as the season is about to restart. They play on Thursday night. NHL action resumes tomorrow night. So there's a lot going on. It is going to be water coming out of the fire hose because there's only 5 games left until the trade deadline. So a lot on the table as we count down towards March Madness. So, Mace, we're not even at March Madness yet, and it's already picking up the pace. I feel like this leisurely pace we've gone at the last week, that's not going to happen for very long.
Oh, no. Some good basketball is about to start brewing up. And it's that good time of the year. Well, when you're talking about sports, because March Madness, probably outside the Super Bowl, has to be one of the most viewed events.
Oh, yeah.
In sports. It's everybody looks forward to this, March Madness and leading up to it, the conference championship games, whether it's the SEC here or the Big Ten, the ACC, those games are huge leading right into March Madness. So this month it's about to be a good one because there are there's no team out there that is like a surefire, they're going to win, because we saw what Michigan was able to, what Duke was able to do to Michigan. We saw Wisconsin beat Michigan. We saw Michigan beat Michigan State. We've seen, North Carolina beat Duke. Arizona loses. So all of these teams, it doesn't seem like there's a clear-cut, lead dog in this.
Yes, it's going to be exciting. And we'll see what the hockey brings forth based on what the Predators do, but there's a lot of hockey games in March as well. So it is going to be a blistering pace. And of course, the NFL offseason is going to kick in with the free agency. So there'll be a lot to talk about here in the coming weeks. But on that note, start us off with the Mason Minute here. The D-Mace wants to get it started.
And this may be longer than a minute.
Okay, that's okay.
Because I think this does need to be talked about. And it was brought to my attention. So I felt that, thinking about it and, man, that's right. That I felt that this show, I don't know what other shows have sort of, talked about concerning this or not. But on this show, I think we haven't done the proper sort of congratulations to the women's U.S. team, the hockey team, for winning the gold. This team was put together in 1998, the inception of this team. And since then, this team has won 3 golds in Olympics game. In the World Championship, this team has won, 10 goals, 10, 12 goals. In the Four Nations Cup, they've won 9, if I'm correct. This has been a dominant, and I mean a dominant hockey team. And for them to not get the recognition and the fame, or so to speak, that we've given to the men's hockey team, They work their asses off. They work just as hard as the men to go out there and represent our country in the Olympics. And they go out and they win. Not only win this year, they won last year. I mean, the last Olympics and the Olympics before that. This has been a dominant team led by their captain, Hillary Knight. And no one, at least that I've heard, have given this women's team the due. This team has been dominant. And again, they've won medal after medal, gold after gold. And this is relatively a new team, a new sport for them. And for us, and I'm just talking about our show because we're guilty of it. We talked about the women a quick second and we were on to the next. So we are guilty of it too. And we sat here for an hour glazing the men, telling them how great they were. And they were fabulous. We brought home the gold. Great. Since the last time we brought home the gold was 1980. And I understand. But the women worked their tails off to represent this country, and we don't give them their just due. We just say, hey, congratulations, women. You won the USA medal, and off you go. Well, those women worked their asses off to get to a point to represent our country and to win a gold medal. Shame on all of us that are not giving these women their just due, me included. They deserve it, every last one of them. And it's crazy. One of the coaches is Quinn and Jack Hughes' mother.
That's right. She's a development.
Exactly.
She's the one who's got all the players.
Exactly. So she's a part of putting this team together. They, of anybody, should be out front like, man, are y'all watching the women's team? They're dominant. They got just as many goals as y'all have, and y'all been in it forever. And they've come to a sport that isn't, I'm not sure it was, before 1998, it wasn't a popular sport amongst women.
It's grown a ton in that area.
And it's grown.
Yeah.
It's grown to a point where this is when you know it's gotten big. When they get a team to represent their country because they feel they're good enough to go elsewhere and win. And that's all they've done. And we haven't given them the just due that they deserve. Shame on all of us. That's it, Willie.
Well, I thought that's well. It's well said. I am, of course, a big fan. We watched that gold medal happen right in front of us, right as we started our show. Is when they scored the golden goal, if you will, in OT. Great come from behind win against Canada. Once upon a time, kind of like the men, Canada had an edge, I think, over the Americans. But recently, the Americans have really taken hold of that rivalry. And right now in the world, there really aren't any other teams that are quite at their level. So they've done a tremendous job over a long period of time. And within the hockey world, I think they've done a good job of really trying to shine the light on the women's game and how far it's come. The collegiate level here in the States has come a long way. But I think you're right. I think it is still a situation where they don't quite get the same. Let's take soccer, right? The U.S. women's soccer team, I think, is deservedly so.
Exactly.
They have grown in popularity big time over the last 20, 25 years.
But they had to bogart their way into it.
They did. And I think the same process is going on in hockey. I've referenced AJ Malesko, who you've probably watched do a lot of Predator games over the years, playoff games, regular season games. She's an excellent analyst. She was on that first gold medal team in 1998.
Okay.
So we need to get her on. I think
exactly.
she'll agree with you a lot. But, I liked watching the two teams interact together at the Olympics. I saw a game where the Kachuk brothers were interviewed during one of the women's games. They were there watching the game, which was great. The women were all there in the stands watching the men. I like how they have interacted together.
Jack Hughes gave credit to Markler, I think that's who had the winning goal.
Keller.
Yeah, Keller.
Yeah.
He gave credit to Keller for her game-winning goal and saying after his shot, he thought of Keller. As he made it.
Exactly.
So you are correct of we do need to do that more. Women do not get representation as much as they should in these type of sports.
Yeah, I thought that was. I hope that continues to grow because it was awesome to watch both teams win the same score against Canada, both in overtime. I mean, that's a movie right there.
But it because C. Mason brought it up yesterday about
we actually had some great questions. One of them was, do you think we could ever have a pro team?
A pro team, a pro hockey team, women's hockey team. So that sort of, I guess that went, and then when I heard it later on, it was like, you know what? He's right. They're right in saying that we haven't given the women their just due. We haven't celebrated the women the way that we should have. It's not like this is like a Four Nations or they're playing within their league and they may win their league championship. It's not that. They are representing our country. All of us. Regardless of what we think, they are representing our country. And for them to not get the just due, I believe, and again, I'm a part of it, the just due that they deserve, I just think that is completely wrong and just irresponsible of everybody that covers sports, I believe. For those that made this a point of emphasis, great. I'm glad you did. We need more people to make a point of emphasis, especially when it comes to, men's or women's. It doesn't matter, representing the country.
We have some reaction on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can call or text 615-737-1025. Texter unnamed says, that's a cool rant, but we all know men's sports are on a different level and more fun to watch.
That's
throw a little gasoline on it.
That's the problem. This is not about more fun. This is about
appreciating the work that goes into it.
But listen to me. This is not a league championship. No, we're talking about this team representing our country. I don't care how fun it may not be, to you, or it may not be to the men's sport, or the men's sport is a lot more fun or enjoyable to watch. They're representing your country. And the men finally win a goal. I'm happy they did. They finally win a goal. And everybody just glaze all over them. They get all of this. While the women, they're like, we didn't want 2 or 3 of these things. And we can't get the proper due or the recognition. We represent our country. So much so they had to, other companies started getting in there like, they're right, bro. We're going to bring y'all out to Las Vegas. We're going to pay for this. We're going to pay for that. Because everything was about the men winning their gold medal. And I understand. I get it. It's been a long time. But you shouldn't poop on the ladies. They've been doing it Olympics after Olympics.
We have some more reaction on the text line. Steven says, not only has the U.S. women's team been underappreciated by hockey fans, they were slighted by their own president. Of course, that's a big thing swirling right now.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into that.
Right. So that's not really where you're coming from.
No. I'm just coming from a place of, it's like we're not giving them their just due, regardless of the president, regardless of him. This is about all of us. He's only going to be a president for a couple more years. But we plan on staying in this country for a very long time. At least some of us. For a very long time. So we should give them the proper due that they deserve because they're representing our country. Again, I don't care what other countries do. Like I tell my kids, I don't care what those other kids are doing. What are you doing? I ain't their parents. I'm yours. What are you doing? So I don't care how the other countries may not, honor their women in their sport. I'm talking about this country, and we're doing a bad job at it. Period. Point blank. If you don't like the truth, so be it.
Couple more texts to pass along here in reaction to D-Mace's start to the show. Another texter, unnamed. My biggest thing with the hockey is I think what the women's team did was great. I watched both the games. I love them. The women won gold in 2018. It had been 46 years for the men. So the hype is obviously going to be different.
And again, I understand that point. But to not, at least this is the way I feel. And I've watched and listened to a lot of sports since then. But to not give them the recognition that they deserve, it's shameful. It really is. Not to say I sit here and I watch women's sport, women's hockey all the time, because I don't. But when they're representing our country, I'm gonna watch.
Right.
I don't watch a half of this stuff that they put on that goes on in the Olympics. But when our country is being represented by them, then yes, I will watch it.
You're not watching curling 24/7?
No.
I watched a lot of the curling. The women more than anything else. That just happened to be on. Eli says, I agree they should get the due, but unfortunately we take for granted their dominance. Do you think that's part of it?
I think that could be. It's sort of a combination of one of our texters, like two texts before the end of him. It's not fun. And then what he said, it's like a combination of both.
Yeah.
Which put them in the place that they're in.
One texter, Mike, says Trump invited the women to the address tonight. He did. And
this ain't about that, man.
That. Yeah.
But no, stop that. I don't want to get into that. This is not that type of show. I don't want to get into it, okay?
Randy says, sports is all politics. It's all about the money, regardless. So, yeah, we don't want to open up that can.
Yeah, we ain't opening up. We're just talking about appreciating the women's winning a gold medal for this country. That's all I'm saying.
All right, let's get one call in before we move to the next subject here. Larry is on the line with us, calling into the show. Hey, Larry.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Great.
Doing well.
Hey, listen, I respect your rant 100%, but 46 years versus winning gold 7 of the last 12 Olympics or how long, that's a big deal. Like, it's kind of like UConn women winning the national championship every year. We kind of expect that with the women's hockey team. And I believe there could have been more celebration, 100%. But try not to act like 46 years. And this team, I don't even think was really – Canada had a way superior team than the United States team.
So it's about the expectations is where Larry's coming from.
And listen,
thanks for the call, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. Listen, I get that. I understand that. I do.
From a hockey perspective, I think that is part of it.
Exactly.
But I think when you have the Olympics, you get a lot of fans that aren't into hockey every day. And I think that is probably
exactly. Like
where
everybody, there's a lot of people that didn't know it's been 45 years since the men has won a hockey game. We can't walk around and act like we can't walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. We can do both. I've done it plenty of times. Walk, chew bubblegum, not run, but walk. Okay? So I understand what Larry said. I get it. But also, we shouldn't dim the light, because that's ultimately what we did. Because we got two light switches. They're both ain't on the same circuit, okay? They're on two different ones. I can dim the light or raise the light in my bedroom, and I can do the same in my living room. One doesn't control the other. Okay? So we can praise the men because it's been 45 years. Damn time. And I'm happy that they did win. But we also can turn that dimmer up for the women and say, look at them. Look at this dominance. Look at it. But that's not what we're doing. We're dimming the light of the women and raising them in and trying to take some of the current away from the women. That's the part that I don't understand. Again, I can work with anybody. We can talk. but make it make sense. That's all I'm asking. Make it make sense, because we can do both at the same time.
All right, good rant. Good stuff. When we come back, we'll move to the next topic. We're going to hit just about everything in this first hour. We're going to talk a little Robert Saleh at the Combine. He had an interview with Rich Eisen that had some good points. We're going to bring you a clip or two we're going to discuss. So stay tuned. We're just getting started here on DVD. This is 102.5 The Game. Time to tell you about F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. And remember, that is what they want to do. If you're interested in simplifying and making your financial world make more sense, F&M Bank is the place for you. MyFMBank.com is where you will find the nearest location to you. They've got 20 in our listening area, and chances are there's one very close to your neighborhood. So find out more about it, like the Smart Swipe feature on the debit card that they offer, which does a very simple thing. Every time you use it, they will round up to the nearest dollar. So if you have a purchase that is $10.20, it will roll up to 80 cents. So it'll move up to 11 cents, and that 80 cents goes into your savings. So whatever that roundup is, the Smart Swipe will throw it in your savings. So every time you use that debit card, you're going to be saving money. A simple way, but an effective way to save money. It's one of several tools that F&M Bank has that will help you. We take it to the bank every Friday at 5:45 on our show. It's a great feature, especially because I'm winning this year. So tune into that Friday at 5:45. Absolutely. So F&M Bank, just go to myfmbank.com. You're going to find the nearest location to you and tell them that we sent you. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
And you have handed off a very important gig to Brian Daboll as the OC and the guy who's like, you're going to connect at the hip to Cam Ward, and that's the success. You can handle your end of the business on the defensive side of the ball while also being the CEO of the operation. But the very crucial aspect of what you have delegated to Brian Daboll is pretty huge. And I'm wondering what you can share with us about how you envision that partnership.
Yeah, it's ultimately it's a partnership, really in all three phases. Yeah. And like I said, really excited about the staff that we were able to put together, especially when you consider all the competition. I think there's 18 OC jobs open this year. There's 10 head coaching jobs, and there was a lot of movement, more movement than normal in our league. And there was a lot of competition for Gus Bradley. There was a lot of phone calls to get Bones out from his role. There was a lot of competition for Daboll, and for them to choose us amongst all the offers that they were given, I think it's a testament to what we have going on over here. And to speak on Daboll, there's a lot of empathy between he and I, and just an understanding of how to handle things. We've been through the same. We bounced ideas off each other when we were both in New York, and I'll continue to do the same thing here, along with Gus and Bones. And so from a staff standpoint and building it, you talk about what's different. The staff is much more experienced than my first staff in New York. So just taking a different approach and leaning into guys who have done it before, who have had a lot of success in this league before, and who have constantly evolved who they are in this league. So it's exciting to have all three of them.
That's Robert Saleh up at the Combine on the Rich Eisen show earlier today. He'll be speaking more publicly as the week moves on. I believe tomorrow is when he is scheduled to have his big scrum. I think that's right.
I thought it was today. I think he had a scrum today.
Well, I stand corrected if that's the case. But some words from the coach. And don't forget, we're going to give away some Predators Red Wings tickets later today. We want to break that down. The thing that jumped out to me, well, first of all, before I say this, what jumped out to you from that conversation there?
He talked about, and this is what I think is going to make him a better coach. Excuse me. This is what I think is going to make him a better coach than what he was with the Jets. And he even said it as much, is that he's hired. The first time around, he had guys that were younger in the game, not much experience. Because as a coach, you are tasked, when you're a head coach, you are tasked to, train these, coaches and give them the experience, but then ultimately, give them an opportunity to do the job that they're gaining experience on. Now they're the guy. And I think that's the approach that he took. I think that's the approach that Brian Callahan took. And it got both of them in trouble because they hired an inexperienced, not that they were not eventually going to be good, but you hired an inexperienced coaching staff with a team that needed experience. And that's what his thing is now. I think that's really one of the main things that he learned, is that when you get another opportunity to do it, you have to bring experience along with you. You can't be the guy that knows the most in the room. You got to bring guys that have experience at a high level at doing the things that you're asking them to do. For instance, Daboll, he's been a coordinator. He's been a head coach too, but he's been an offensive coordinator. He's been successful at that. What did Brian Callahan do? He was the play caller. He never had experience in being a play caller. So that was one of the things that really stuck out with me in regards to, how Robert Saleh is going to, or how he is proceeding with this coaching staff and how he's putting this coaching staff together, at least when you talk about the coordinators.
One thing that maybe we haven't given them enough credit for is something he pointed out in that answer, and that is that they had to battle. And so I can only piece together the financial part of this and the commitment from the owners or the owner and Amy, he pointed out how many jobs were open for offensive coordinators and the competition for both offensive and defensive coordinators. And he even threw in Bones Fossil as a guy that the league was interested. Hey, is he staying? Can we get him? So the coordinators that he has in the experience level, not only do they have the experience, as you pointed out, but they had to compete to get those guys. And when I think about what it takes to compete, it's not only they wanted to come to Nashville, but also there had to be some financial incentives there that were very competitive, if not the best. Because I'm assuming that, you're not just looking to come to Nashville because the Titans have been in trouble, right, for a while.
Of course.
So I give Robert Saleh credit for recruiting and getting those three guys, keeping Fossil and then bringing in the guys that he did. Do you think he needs to get a little more credit for that?
No, I think he does. And I, at the beginning, we talked about how experienced his coaching staff was becoming. That, he went out and hired basically three guys that had head coaching experience. Now, I know Bones Fossil, his was only an interim situation, but he still had experience at being a head coach. He's one of the best, if not the best, special teams coach in the league. So when you are a leader of not just the football team, the players, you are the leader of that coaching staff. And you want to make sure that you put people in positions that know what they're doing, because that's what it's going to take to get this team out of the cellar. Is guys coming on hand that has experience. Dabo, he has experience at calling plays. He has experience at leading, really good offense. You got Gus Bradley. He has experience in calling plays. He has experience at, being a head coach. He has that experience of leading really good defenses. Obviously, Bones Fossil, he has experience at coaching really good special teams and being a head coach for, I don't know how many games he was the head coach for the Raiders at that time. Now the Las Vegas Raiders. But you're hiring people that you don't have to sort of hover over and make sure they're doing their job the way they're supposed to.
He's obviously got an interesting relationship with Daboll, and there's no doubt that it had to be a positive that they knew each other and were peers in the same market. I can only assume that was part of what he referenced there on that last answer, that he didn't get specific, but you could tell that their experience collectively going through the New York market, as first-time head coaches, has resonated with them as, hey, we've been through the fire, and now here we are working together. I think it's going to be a really interesting, as they call it, partnership, right, between that will get a lot more attention than the partnership with Gus Bradley, right, for obvious reasons. And I think around the league, especially with the pull of the New York media, and I think from the national perspective, just having those guys coach in New York together, and both had more downs than ups. Daboll had more ups than Saleh did in terms of results. But I think that's going to be a theme from the national media is, hey, here are these two ex-New York coaches working together.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting. But I look at what John Harbaugh was able to do. John Harbaugh came in as he came from Philadelphia, I believe, as a special teams coach and became the head coach. And what he did was hire guys with experience, those coordinators with experience. So again, he could be the coach and not have to sort of make sure every coach was doing the job that they needed to do, and sort of make sure the players, were all in this together. He was able to delegate, a lot of the responsibility of of play calling to experienced guys. That's why I believe he's been so successful. And then the guys under them get to learn from that experience. And then they go off one day and become coaches. And we've seen it, whether it's McDonald in Seattle, they just won a Super Bowl. The coach that Miller what is his name? Last name Miller, the Baltimore Ravens head coach now.
Mentor.
Mentor, not Jesse Mentor.
Yeah,
Jesse
Jesse
Minter.
Minter.
Jesse Mentor was another one of those guys, but he was off defensive coordinator. Seattle's coach was the defensive coordinator, so they were in positions to call plays. So they go off to their respective teams. Look at what Seattle does. It's all about who you hire, because if you don't hire people that know what they're doing, you're going to spend more time trying to correct them than you are coaching your team.
I wonder. I'm sure they had fast. I would love to have just been sitting there observing a conversation between Daboll and Saleh on what did we learn in New York going through the fire. From all the aspects. For me, particularly handling the media and the crush that you have there, the scrutiny, especially when your team is struggling. That would be a fascinating thing to learn more about, because it just does sound like they've bonded over that, and hopefully that will help them have a good relationship working. He said in that interview, I'm not sure if we played that part of it, but he said Daboll's not going to be here very long. He sounds very confident, solid, that they're going to have success, and Daboll will get another job as a head coach. So I'm guessing he sold Daboll on that to a degree.
Well, you have to, and if I think another good part here was Daboll was familiar with Cam Ward. They were
Right.
trying to move up to get Cam Ward. So when you don't have a job anymore, it's like, okay, that's the guy that I wanted to draft. Let me go develop him and work in that system. And then if I get him right, which I believe he will, it's not like you got to come in and redo. I think Cam is on his way to being a really good player, if not one of the best.
Later in the show, we're going to hit on that and play you a clip where Robert Saleh talks about his vision with Cam Ward and with Brian Daboll. It was good stuff with Rich Eisen today. When we come back, we'll switch gears. We keep moving fast. We're going to talk to Mitch Light, who is going to talk about the Joey Aguilar decision. We're going to hit a little Vanderbilt hoops. Big game tomorrow against Georgia, coming off that tough loss against Tennessee. And we'll also take a sneak peek at the SEC baseball season for Vanderbilt and Tennessee. Speaking of that, Vanderbilt baseball hosts Evansville this afternoon at 4:30. You can catch all the action on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app. Coverage is presented by Gary Force Acura. Don't forget, later in the show also, Predators Red Wing tickets on Monday. We're going to give those away during the 4 o'clock hour. Stay tuned. We are rolling on here on DVD 102.5 The Game. DVD continues here on 102.5 The Game. It's time to go to our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and talk to Mitch Light from The Athletic, college football editor, also reports on college baseball, and, of course, knows the scene here on the sports end. So we're going to pick his brain on a number of subjects here as he gets set to take in the Vanderbilt baseball game this afternoon. Mitch, what's going on?
Not much, Willie. You mentioned college football and college baseball, and this is going to sound like an advertisement for this company, and it's not. But through work, I just got access to a site called CBB Analytics, and it's like I might be on the site for the next 3 days straight. It just has everything about every college basketball player, every stat, every team stat. Man, if I had this back in the day when I was covering you, when I was at the Vanderbilt Hustler, I could have found out Willie Donnick's shot percentage at the rim, corner threes, all this stuff. I really could have dissected your game and maybe gone to Coach Fogler and said, this guy deserves to play more.
Man, we'd had to maybe have a pact that would not share anything with Coach Fogler if it hurt my chances of getting in more. Because that could have been possible depending on the numbers. We'd have to go back in time on that one and just speculate. Shots at the shooting percentage at the rim, I would say not a lot of data there for me.
Yeah. So, but it's just amazing with the information available nowadays. And I like to poke around some sites, but this one's incredible. If any of the listeners have it, but it's again, it's just corner three, everything you would possibly want to know about every player and every team in college basketball. But I've kind of hijacked the conversation, so you're the host. Take over.
Well, I was going to ask you. Let's start with that. Based on that, do the Vanderbilt? How do the Vanderbilt numbers look, especially in light of that loss? I thought that was a game on Saturday that it was a coin flip by the end of the game. It really came down literally to the last couple of times who had the ball, who made the play. Tennessee made one or two more plays than Vanderbilt at the end. But how do Vanderbilt's numbers look?
Yeah, along those lines, I think A.K. Okereke said in the post game, he's like, it's a make or miss sport, and Tennessee made shots down the stretch and Vanderbilt didn't. So yeah, it was a very even game. And that's the thing about Vanderbilt's lost two straight, and maybe some of the numbers are skewed in the Missouri comeback, but all scores, all points count the same. Vanderbilt has not dropped analytically at all. Like the numbers still favor Vanderbilt. That's why you're still seeing them with 4 and 5 seed projections, all that. They are 13 in Ken Palm right now. I think they dropped maybe 2 spots at the most the past week from losing 2 games. So from a numbers standpoint, Vanderbilt still looked on very favorably. And the one thing a lot of is baked into that is they played the last month without Duke Miles. And I would suspect, as Duke had some good and some bad the other day, forced some shots, I thought. But as he gets acclimated more in the offense, I think we might see them revert. The competition's tougher, but we might see them revert to some of their earlier season offensive ways when they were scoring a little easier.
As you say that, it's ironic because a couple of years ago when Jerry Stackhouse had the team that had Liam Robbins, he got hurt right when they were starting to play well, and they kept winning some games. They had a couple of big wins against Kentucky, one in the SEC tournament, but their net ranking and their Ken Palm, for that matter, basically didn't budge, for a team that was starting to win 8 out of 10, 8 out of 11 with some great wins in there. And it frustrated the heck out of the Vanderbilt fans, and it definitely hurt them when it came down to the selection show. So now it seems to be working in their favor the opposite way.
Yeah, it's just from the get-go, this team was an analytical darling, put up big points, big margins, but even some of the better teams they played, they still, St. Mary's, VCU, still put up, and just were scoring very efficiently and also playing very good defense. So yeah, it's and one interesting thing as a sidebar to that, we all like to talk bracketology and all that. If you followed last week, the NCAA had a mock selection committee where they invited a bunch of journalists up. They used to do this every year, then I think they stopped. When we went back to it, the people who were up there said the net was almost never mentioned. They mention it in maybe what your record is against that. They use that to organize for quad 1 wins, quad 2 wins. But when they're comparing teams, they don't really talk about the net like they did 3, 4, 5 years ago. There's other things. There's, they use Ken Palm now. Wins above bubble. Get used to that term. It's been around for a couple years. wins above bubble. Basically, that means how you would do compared to how a bubble team would do. So if you're like 13th in wins above bubble, if your wins above bubble is like 4.8, you're 13th. That means you are, an average bubble team would have whatever number I can't even remember what number I just threw out there. I probably didn't explain it the best, but that's going to be a term that is used a lot this year when you're talking about the bubble because the committee is using it a lot.
Well, it's no question that the analytics is becoming a bigger part of this for better or worse. So we'll see how that plays out when it comes time to seed everybody. What about tomorrow's matchup against Georgia, Mitch? It turns out it's going to be the last home game because of the Ole Miss flip-flop after the ice storm. So this is a big, big game to recover and hold serve.
Yeah, definitely. And Georgia has been playing much better. They won at Kentucky. I watched all that game last Wednesday. I think it was showed a lot of mental toughness. You gotta overcome the runs at Rupp Arena that you're going to see from Kentucky. And Georgia just made a lot of shots, and they beat Texas at home. And Texas had been playing very well. They've got some shot makers on that team. Jeremiah Wilkinson's averaging 17 points a game. They've got some size there. So Vanderbilt will have to play. Vanderbilt will be favored, but they'll have to play well to win this game. And then, as you mentioned with the schedule, you don't want to lose this game for a lot of reasons, but you don't want to go into the last 3 road games of the season coming off losing 2 home games. So, I don't know, pressure is not the right word, but Vanderbilt will have to play well and really needs to win tomorrow night.
Now, Mitch, when you're talking about these teams within the SEC, to which one of these teams, and I know Florida right now is the best team if you're basing it on record, but they lost to a Missouri team who has looked really good at times as well. And each team has had their losses within the division. But which one of these teams you think or believe has the team that can make it the furthest in March Madness?
I think it's Florida. I think they're playing a lot better than that Florida, that Missouri loss you referenced there. I think was the SEC opener. It was very early. The one thing about Florida, they've got great size. Their shooting is inconsistent, and that's when you get into the NCAA tournament and you got to win 6 straight games. It's very difficult, even with that size and in their experience. It's difficult to win. Difficult to avoid a 2 for 15 from outside. And their guards are they're not consistent shooting the ball. So that's what scares you there. Arkansas has a extremely high ceiling. Darius Acuff is among the best players in the country. Their point guard. They haven't been as consistent as you would like. They've laid some eggs on the road. But I think Florida and Arkansas, from a talent standpoint, are probably the 2 best teams in the league, in my opinion.
Now, what do you think about UT? Because they had a tough win here on West End this past weekend. This is a team that's been sort of up and down all year. But it seems like they're now catching their groove with their freshman Ament leading them. And this is a big team. So how far do you think this team can go?
Yeah, I thought Saturday's win was impressive because every win in the SEC sounds like cliche is nice and important, but the previous wins were against Mississippi State, LSU, and Oklahoma. Before that, Ole Miss. So they proved they could beat a good team on the road. It's with them, a lot of it's similar to Florida. They've got good size. They're shooting. I trust Tennessee's outside shooting a little bit more than I do Florida's. But Tennessee, and it's not just this team, it seems to be an identity with the Rick Barnes era. They're really tough, but they go through these offensive dry spells. And I think you can see that with this team. But I really like Gillespie at point guard. And Ament, I thought Vanderbilt did a great job on Ament the other day, but you're right. He is really kind of coming into his own. He can get his shot off. He's playing really, really well. He's the type of scorer you can ride to 3 or 4 wins in the NCAA tournament. So they've got Missouri tonight, and you mentioned Missouri's got good size too. Missouri's been playing pretty well, so that'll be a nice test. But I do like the way Tennessee's been playing.
We're talking to Mitch Light of The Athletic. Now, Mitch, Joey Aguilar, he loses his petition to get that 6-year back. We saw Diego Pavia petition his, he got his back, and I'm not getting into the politics of it, but what does this do, if anything, moving forward as far as guys trying to challenge the NCAA and get extra years?
Yeah, everything's, we thought we saw the end of it, and then I don't know if you guys have been on the air. Chandler Morris the Virginia Chandler Morris, the Oklahoma, the TCU, the North Texas, and the Virginia quarterback has just applied for a 7th year, and he's played 4 years in 5 different seasons. I think he's going with the Trinidad Chambliss plan of attack, where he's trying to get a red shirt retroactively. One of the years he only played 4 games, so he's trying. So I think each case is different. And we're going to see guys try to get that extra year. I don't think Morris is going to be successful. There's talk that Castellanos, the quarterback who was at Florida State this past year, might try and apply for another year. So, we're again, just I don't spend too much time in the legality of it. We've got smarter people and other people on staff that deal with all that. But I don't think we're going to see an end to this. A, these guys want to play football, and B, they want to make money. And so I guess I don't fault them. Some of it's getting a little ridiculous, but I don't think, I think we're going to see this over the next couple of years continue.
Dare I say we have the makings of some guardrails with the Bediako and the Aguilar thing, even though Chambliss won, maybe we have some kind of guide. I just hope that it gets to the point where not every person is like, well, I can get one more year. Let's see. Do I have a lawyer? It's got to get past that.
Well, yeah, and there's some common sense involved, and I'm going to bring this up. This hasn't gotten much publicity, and I was wondering when he transferred, what the deal would be. A.K. Okereke at Vanderbilt is in his 4th year of college, and everyone knows his. Well, if you follow Vanderbilt, you know his story. He showed up at Cornell as a manager. He played in 4 games as a true freshman. At the end of the year, 10 total minutes. And that counts. The redshirt rules are different in all sports, and I don't know the way it's exactly written in basketball, but because it was at the end of the year and it wasn't an injury and not the beginning of the year, that counts against him. So I believe Vanderbilt is trying to get another year for A.K. Okereke, and from a common sense standpoint, he should be. He played 10 minutes as a freshman at Cornell, and he's only in his 4th year of college, so next year would be his 5th year. So it's not his 6th, 7th, or 8th like we've seen there. So that's something to monitor. That could get in the off season. That could, come up a lot, because I think in the court of public opinion, when people are anti all this, 8th, 7th, 8th year, here seems to be an example where a kid, again, only playing 10 minutes total in 4 games, should be granted that extra year.
Oh boy, we got a whole nother one now.
Yeah. Stir the pot here.
He is represented by Diego Pavia, who will be in front of the judge. I can see it now. Oh boy, Mitch. Before we let you go, quick thought on Vanderbilt and Tennessee in baseball. We have about a minute or so, so maybe 30 seconds on each team. Let's start with the post Tony Vitello Tennessee roster. What does it look like?
Yeah, it's talented. We know what happened to them last week. They lost 2 of 3 to Kent State. Had not lost the home non-conference series since 2020. The bats maybe haven't been great. I like the starting pitching. I think that's going to be a strength of this team. So no need to panic right now, but clearly they probably need to hit better, and they haven't played a road game yet. The schedule's been soft, so we'll have to see. They play UCLA, the number 1 team in the country, on Friday. That's going to be obviously a huge test.
Okay, and Vanderbilt, you're about to watch them. They went 1-2 down in Texas. They've won easily against teams that they should beat since then. But how's it shaping up for you?
Yeah, I mean, the story so far has been the bats and the home runs. They're 2nd or 3rd nationally in home runs. They feasted on some bad pitching at home, but they also hit the ball out of the ballpark at a major league park against some good pitching. Again, same thing with Tennessee. I think the starting pitching has been very, very good. They were a bad throw from Colin Barzee away from being 2-1, and everyone feel a lot better about this team. So I like this roster as well. The story again will be, can they keep up the power against better competition?
Yep, just getting started. It's only February, but yes, we're set at the table for a college baseball season. Mitch, enjoy. I guess it's not too cold for a day at the Hawk here. Sit in the sun seats. That might help you.
Well, yeah, it's a little windy. This is one of those go a couple innings. I'm a little hungry. It's a little cold. I'll leave after an hour. So that's my game plan.
Oh, come on. You got to tough it out. You got to be tougher than that. Come on. You got to get at least 5 innings.
Right?
In.
Are you in the studio?
We're in the studio.
Warm
yeah.
in there?
It's warm.
Okay. It's very warm. Yes.
I'm going to look at the analytics of this and say I'm cold and I'm leaving.
It is cold.
It is 46 degrees outside.
46 degrees
man.
officially. That's what our analytics say.
It's always 10 degrees colder at the Hawk in February. You could be walking across campus and it'd be sunny, and if it's February and you walk into the Hawk, it could be frigid.
Yes,
yeah.
and That one I have to agree with you on, because having sat in that dugout for many games, for some afternoon games, whoo, it is cold over there. All right, Mitch, thanks a lot for coming on.
All right, talk to you later. See ya.
All right, Mitch Light from The Athletic here went around the college world right there. And when we come back, let's get a little more into the Joey Aguilar situation. Trevor Maddich is going to join us at 4:20. We'll get his thoughts on that and on the combine. There's a lot to discuss with Trevor, but in between, we'll get. And I'd love to hear from some Tennessee fans about how they feel about Joey Aguilar and George McIntyre, who might have a great opportunity now to jump in and grab that starting job. A kid who played locally right here in Nashville. So, how do you feel about it? 615-737-1025. We're coming back with more. And during the 4 o'clock hour, don't forget, a chance to win Red Wings versus Predators tickets Monday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Stay tuned. Wow. A lot of love between Chase and Big Joe earlier today, apparently. So anyway, let's tell you about Loan Pronto. Our high-interest credit cards and other loans just sucking the life out of your finances month by month. It's time to say no more. Let Loan Pronto tap the equity in your home, get some cash out so you can pay all those credit card bills and car loans off. Those high-interest loans, if you can knock those down, it's going to save you a lot of money over the long term. Willie Donick here to tell you about Loan Pronto and their rapid equity loan program. It can get you $100,000, $200,000 or more in cash out of your home's equity. Chloe and Ethan just did it. They consolidated all their high interest debt into one super low monthly payment, giving them an extra $1,000 a month. They're great examples of how they're helping people all the time get into a better financial spot using their equity to their advantage with the rapid equity loan program from Loan Pronto. Imagine, just pay off the credit cards, slash your monthly payments, breathe easier, get your life back. All you got to do is call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. Visit NMLSconsumeraccess.org. D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick here on this Tuesday afternoon. Hey, make sure that you pay attention because something big is coming to warm up Nashville. I am all ears for that. I've been cold a lot the last several weeks. Right,
yeah.
Right time HVAC and Cromwell Media are about to change one family's winter. So stay tuned on how you could win. So keep that in mind. Trevor Maddich is coming up at 4:20. We'll talk to him. But let's touch a little further on the ramifications of the Joey Aguilar situation. I guess it's over. I'm sure there's always somebody saying, well, we can appeal this and do this. I guess Bediako has tried to do that for Alabama basketball. He's like, but wait, I got a lawyer. Let's appeal it one more time. Let's get an injunction, and maybe I can play in the meantime. Because that's the trick, is all you have to do is get an injunction. You don't have to, quote, win the case. You just have to pause it while they ponder. Yeah, and you can keep playing in the meantime. So I don't know if Joey Aguilar is going to now move on with his life, but it seems like that's happening. Is this a good thing for college sports in general, not necessarily for Tennessee?
Yes. For this reason, because I think that eventually, if you continue to let these things happen, they're going to continue to push and push and push for more. It's going to go from trying to get that 6th year to that 7th year to, oh man, I didn't play college football for 4 years at Division I, and now you get 4 years, so it's total you even got 8 years. And I know there has been speculation that, under some, people thinking, that, oh, a guy can get 16 years. I mean, possibly, but who's going to even try to make that move? But I think what happens is this does give, I think, other athletes probably pause, and lawyers pause, because, if you go in knowing that this has been pretty much sort of handled and there's been guardrails created now, you're not going to go in there and fight for that particular athlete, or that athlete is going to think, well, they didn't struck down the last 3 or 4. Mines is just like theirs. What makes me think that mines is not going to get upheld, or there's not going to be a stay to allow me to continue to play? The situation he spoke about, the last situation he spoke about, I think though that's the situation with O'Keefe. That's the situation that I think you would probably more than likely see than a guy like Aguilar or Chambliss trying to get 6 or 7 years, because technically he should be awarded his 5th year. Because whether you play it, at least to me, whether you play it at the beginning or at the end, if you only play 3 games in that season, then why should that be held against you if you play under the number of games or right at the number of games that would have disqualified you of your red shirt year? I know Mitch said it wasn't because of injury, but you can't. And listen, when it happened, no one thought we would be here trying to do this, So it's like you can't blame the kid and punish the kid for something that the coach did the last 4, and it was only 10 minutes combined.
Right. So you're talking about A.K. Okereke, who Mitch Light brought to the table. I had not heard that myself, so this is brand new.
So cases like his are a little bit different than Aguilar or some other people, Chambliss.
That's the tricky part of all of these cases. Every one of them is slightly unique, right? Everybody's got their own little nuances. They all want an extra year, whatever. But I keep thinking about the high school kids. Every kid that you allow to stay another year, that jams up another high school kid who would otherwise have that spot on that roster. We need to get back to the flow of 18 to 22-year-old kids playing college as much as we can, right? And it needs to be more rare that there's somebody who's more like 23. And I think 23 should be the maximum that you should be able to compete in college on.
Well, kids are coming into college a lot earlier now.
Well, yeah, some earlier, but
Yeah.
also some later. Some are
Some are later,
delaying
too, yeah.
to come in, to be a freshman more like at 19, which is, that's a strategy that people have used.
But it should be, and I don't mind the 19-year-olds because I think that's been the case forever, where kids graduate at 18 and before they get into college, they turn 19. So to me, that's not such a big thing.
But I'm
And
talking
then-
about like going to a postgraduate.
Oh yeah, okay. I see
Oak
what you're saying.
Hill,
Yeah.
or something like that, or now there's
IMG or something.
depending on the sport. IMG would be one. There's the USHL and hockey where you can spend a year or two playing and then come in a little bit later. There's a lot of little techniques that people
they
but
use.
It's becoming more prevalent. But then you're right, there are some kids that come in a little bit earlier to try to get in there early. So I still think that the guardrail is the key word. Legally, I don't know if the challenges will become lesser with, I don't know if I would say victories, but with the case going this way with Aguilar, where you finally have at least some barrier. Bediako is another one, right? You have at least a couple of things that say, all right, here's a barrier. Let's not get ridiculous about this. Anybody who's in this case, don't even bother going to court. If we can minimize how many people are challenging the system, that's probably a good start.
Well, the first thing they need to do is if you play, and I know that, and I'm not talking about the international. That's not what I'm talking about, because
that's another
that's
can
been
of
happening,
worms.
forever. But to me, if you go out and you play, say, that first year, I think you should still, as it currently and still is and has been forever, you should be able to get that fifth year, because I still think that goes in line with the younger kids coming up. Because what are we screaming now? Kids need to stay in school longer. These kids need to stay in school longer, develop themselves, stay in school longer. Well, the original rule was get 4 within 5.
Right. 5 years to play 4.
Yeah. So
I still think that should be the general
exactly.
guideline.
So someone like Okereke, he should be awarded that 5th year. Now, if we start getting outside the confines of that,
what he's effectively looking for is a retroactive
red shirt year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now when you're talking about JUCO and all that other stuff, those rules have been around forever too. Guys from JUCO could have spent 4 years in college, but they usually, it's like, I'm only coming in for a year or two and I'm going off to the NFL or the NBA. But I don't think there was a rule that stated if you're coming from JUCO, you can only spend 2 years at NCAA college, a Division I college. I don't think there's ever been a rule like that, but no one tested it. Now these kids are testing it. So maybe the rules need to be changed for JUCO in conjunction with the NCAA, saying if you play 2 years here, maybe that counts as a year already played in NCAA, and you only got 4 years, and not say, well, you played 2 at JUCO, and then now you get your full 4.
Here's a question from Matt on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Does Aguilar or any of these guys trying to get that 5th, 6th, 7th year have a degree? How many PE or women's studies classes or underwater basket weaving hours can one person have? I have been curious about that with all of this jumping from school to school.
I'm sure they're getting a degree
But there used to be, I don't know how they do it now because it's so fluid.
Yeah.
The number of transfers coming back. But remember, there used to be like, well, did your credits transfer?
Yes.
What about this class over at this school versus this class over at that school? Can you imagine the admissions people, or have they just thrown their hands up and said, "Forget it, let him in"? Forget it.
But you know,
let her in.
You know what they understand?
She wants to transfer here. Let her in.
But there's more people going out than coming in.
But for every school that has somebody transfer out, that same school is bringing somebody in. For the most part, right? So they have to do that. There has to be somebody that you're bringing in where you have to look at their transcript. But that's my question: is who's doing the transcript? Like
that poor soul is just
for
like
for the kids. I do hope that if you are maximizing your presence in college, that you're at least getting a degree out of it. I don't know. I don't know if the number of kids getting degrees through all this process, when you go to 3 different schools, for example, is the number of kids who walk out of there with a degree increasing, decreasing, or is it the same as it's always been? I don't know.
I think if the rules are what they were as far as what credits transfer over and what credits not, I think those are conversations. I'm not saying that it's not happening, but I'm sure there has to be conversations. If you want to get to your degree, that has to be conversations that you have with either your representative that's, sort of working out the deal, or your parents, or the coach that you're going to, like, I got to make sure my credits transfer over, not half of them, all of them. And if it's like it was in 1996, 95, 94, a lot of times those credits don't, especially if you're coming from a lower division to the NCAA and to Division I, some of those credits may not transfer.
Caleb on our text line says, I had 2 classes that prevented me from playing for Memphis back in 2012. Nowadays, I wonder how that would have worked out. It just seems like you just say you want to transfer, you pick the school you want to, that will take you, and it's done.
Your credits are over.
Maybe there are behind-the-scenes stories about, hey, we can't get this kid in, or we can't get that kid in, but it just seems like it's become something.
If you want to move,
just like, hey, we want to win. We're paying people anyway. Just we'll make the academics work. But I thought I just hope in that process that the kid, while he's there, is, even if it's your 3rd school, if you're keeping score, move and get your degree.
Yeah.
Someday you're going to look back and say, well, I got the money, but I wasn't paying attention to what classes I was taking, my major. I have to believe there's people that get lost in the shuffle there.
Yeah.
They just get misguided. They're like, how much money am I making? Good. That's all I need to know.
Because the more you transfer, and I don't think kids realize this, and maybe they don't care, because it's not, I think for a lot of these kids, it's not about anymore. It's not about getting to the NFL anymore, or the NBA, or the WNBA. I think it's about maximizing their opportunity,
earning potential
while they're in college. And some of these individuals may not. I know that only 1% each year makes the NFL, makes a NFL roster. So these kids are probably thinking, I need to make as much money, and sort of forgetting about, I'm not going to the league. I need to make the money and get the degree.
Yeah, the degree is going to help you long term, long past when you're done playing. So keep that in mind, people. If you're out there, we're your conscience. Remember, Coach Willie, get your degree. Don't waste your time while you're there. Take the time to go to the class. Another final question before we get to Trevor. If someone played a pro sport and decided to go back to school, would they be able to play a different college sport? Well, that has happened a lot in college football. Some quarterbacks, Chris Winkie famously.
Baseball.
What was the kid for the Browns who played for Oklahoma State? Wheeler, I think his name was. Is that right? Brandon Whedon.
Whedon, the quarterback.
So there's been some guys. Quincy Carter for Georgia, played minor league baseball, came back to school to play college football, and they were a lot older.
Yeah.
But that's been allowed, so that does happen sometimes. It's all blurred. Now, I think you can still do that. I don't know. So, I just wonder I just want to see who the first minor league baseball player is to say, well, let me challenge the system. I'll go back to college.
But see, here's with both of those situations. Here's what is different. Again, none of those guys challenged a true 4 years. They were only there for a year, maybe 2, and was gone. So what if they would have challenged the full 4 years? Like, I want, like Winkie, he should have stayed in school because he didn't make it in the NFL.
Yeah, he was a backup.
Exactly. Yeah. So what if he would have petitioned for the full 4 years?
I don't know how many years he played. I
think
they could have, because these guys went right out of high school to play minor league baseball. So whatever age they came back to, I think they got the 4 years if they wanted him.
Okay.
I know Hayden Hurst, that happened to him before he went to South Carolina to play tight end.
How many years did he play at South Carolina?
I think it was about 3.
Okay.
3 years.
So I guess they can get their full 4 years if they want it, which then puts them, depending on how long they played in the minors. And that is what the center from Alabama is sort of kind of saying. Like, if you think about it, they were able to play minor league. I didn't know. Listen, I don't know the full story of Winkie and those guys, but they played minor league.
Yeah,
and then they came back up
in a different sport.
Exactly. But I didn't play in the NBA.
Right. You could make the argument. What's the difference?
Yeah. So
But
what's the difference? Yeah.
that's just how it's been. It'll have your head spinning the rest of the afternoon. On that note, let's switch gears and we'll talk to Trevor Maddich when we come back, and we'll get his thoughts on the Aguilar situation and the combine this week going on at Indianapolis. You're listening to DVD here on 102.5 The Game. DVD continuing here on 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason here with you. Adam Vingan out for this week. Paternity leave, yes.
Mm-hmm.
His wife, Bridget, gave birth to their second child, Eliza. So congratulations to the Vingans. And we will talk to Adam on Monday. In the meantime, we're going to hit our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com and talk to Trevor Maddich, who was brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters. Trevor, what's going on?
Really, I'm doing. Congratulations to Adam and family. That's fantastic.
Yes, good news for Adam, for sure. So, Trevor, we were just kind of wrapping up the Joey Aguilar decision. I know we've been asking you about it as it's been leading up to this, but in your mind, what's the biggest takeaway ramification to where to go from here?
Well, I think that we had a ray of light with the Diego Pavia waiver for 2025, which Aguilar, by the way, benefited from in Tennessee as well. But the door has slammed closed. I mean, Pavia's lawsuit in federal court was to have his junior college years not count against his 4-year school playing. And the NCAA, once Pavia got an injunction in federal court, they said, look, we're not going to contest it for 2025, and you go ahead and play. Everybody gets an extra year if you played in JUCO in 2025, but that's it. 2025 is the only year, and the door slammed shut after that. So Pavia got to play, and Aguilar got to play too under that rule in 2025, but he ended up losing in state court to have it extended 2026 because 2 years or 2 seasons anyway in junior college. And so what it means going forward is that whole idea of getting an extra year out of junior college is now gone pending future legislation. So Joey Aguilar was just a year late and in state court, and he did not get the injunction that Pavia got last year.
So maybe we have a little bit of guidelines, but we've had some really interesting texts from our listeners, Trevor, about things like, that don't get discussed because of the headline is the guy playing, is he making money, etc. But like long-term things, like what happens to all these kids who have shuffled to 2 or 3 schools? Are they getting their degree? Or what kind of lessons are they learning in life about commitments and all of these things? Are you concerned about that at all?
Nope. No. And let me tell you what, it is a real thing. And when you talk to coaches, especially old-time coaches, they have great concern about players who used to come in to a school because of the fit, and they learned how to stay with their commitment and make the best out of the situation, even if they didn't like it for a while at least. And they learned perseverance. They learned all these different things, and they left hopefully with their degree. Nowadays, you come in and you're a free agent, and you pop around to different schools, you get all this money. But you know what? Who makes that decision? I mean, who am I, or who is anybody to tell a 19-year-old with a skill in the entertainment market, which is what college football is? College football is basically a TV show. And who are any of us to tell that kid that he can't go from place to place and maximize his ability to earn in the market in the limited time that he is able to perform in that market at that level? And I think it's bad for them to just go get a bunch of money here, then go get a bag over there, then go get a bag over there. And what you're left with is a bunch of money, which is really great, but you've got no life skills. You've got no character development inherently from that process. That's not to say that you won't develop it anyway, but inherently from the process, it's far less likely that you will develop it if you can just bug out for a bigger bag whenever times get tough where you are. But I always come back to who gets to make that decision. And the one making that decision is the player who's a grown adult who can join the Marines and go off to war. And they're the ones who make the decision with their advisors. And so if they make the decision to go make millions of dollars jetting around the college football world as a free agent year to year to year, then good for them and good for the money that they've got. But I do not want to hear them cry and whine and moan and complain once they've spent all that money on stuff they should have spent it on because it was sure cool at the time to have it all. Then now they've got nothing, no degree, they've got no NFL career, they've got nothing, and now they cry and whine, forget about it. You're a grown adult, You know where to find the right advice. And so you get it, the advice, you do what you think is best for you, and hopefully it'll work out for you. But if it doesn't, I got no time to feel bad for you.
But so you're acknowledging that is going to happen in some cases. Some people are going to just hit the pitfalls.
Yeah, listen, in the NFL, I played with a guy, when I was playing for the Colts, there was this kid. He got drafted like in the 6th round or something like that. Long shot to make the team. He spent his entire signing bonus on a Mercedes that was a brassy, nasty, loud, aggressive red color, not pleasing at all, that had a gold gas cap, like a gold tooth in the middle of it, and gold door handles on it. And it was to spend money to uglify a car that way is beyond me why you would do that. But he did, and that was his entire signing bonus, and then he got cut. And instead of ending up with money that could go towards starting a business or a down payment for a home, what he got was a depreciating asset that it was hard to sell anyway, unless you somehow painted it and got rid of that darn gold plate.
Yeah, that's an ugly, loud car.
That was his choice, right? That was his
That's
fault.
his choice.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't judge him for that.
Yeah,
It's important to you. You do it. Listen, I made plenty of mistakes financially when I was a young player, and guess who I blame? Me.
Exactly.
Me.
Absolutely. And you see more of that than not. And hopefully you don't see much of it nowadays because you feel these kids are a little bit more educated now than we were back then. We're talking with Trevor Maddich, ESPN, NFL, and college analyst. Now, the latest mock draft come out, and listen, I'm not beholden anyone to this, but it is kind of interesting that now the Jets are predicted to take Caleb Downs. Now, the Jets have done this before with a safety, when Mike Adams drafted him high. If indeed that does happen, what is sort of the trickle effect down? Because we know that Mendoza more than likely will be the number 1 pick. But then after that, now you have more edge rushers that are available, that guys that we thought were going to be taken at the 2nd spot.
Right. No, most people have David Bailey of Texas Tech and Reuben Bain of Miami as the top 2 edge rushers. And if the Jets take Caleb Downs at number 2, then all you've got between you and those 2 edge rushers is the Cardinals. And if they take one of them, if Tennessee wants the other, they can. And right now, Mel Kiper, in that mock draft that you talked about, Derek, that just came out, he has David Bailey mocked to them at number 3. So if the Titans want Reuben Bain at number 4, well, he'll be available for them. Although the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm getting the feeling that they shouldn't take either one of those guys at number 4, even if they're both available. There's 2 other guys that I would be likely to consider instead of them there, both on defense. One is Arvell Reese, that we've talked about, the linebacker out of Ohio State. The other one's another Ohio State linebacker, Sonny Styles. They're both 6'4", about 240. They both run like the wind and hit like a freight train. You know, I think Reese probably has more overall upside potential, but Styles is probably more polished right now. Styles, a middle linebacker kind of guy, who's a former safety, by the way, so he's got all kinds of instincts and skills that a lot of linebackers don't have. But the reason I like those guys, one or the other, and I'd be fine with either one of them, probably Reese first if he's available for long-term upside, is because Robert Saleh, the new head coach for the Titans, when he coached at San Francisco, they drafted Fred Warner. And Fred Warner at BYU was technically a linebacker, but really he kind of played outside the box and then ran to the ball. He'd be a run and hit guy, much like Brian Urlacher was at New Mexico before the Bears drafted him and made him a middle linebacker, right? Well, you're looking at Fred Warner now, the Robert Saleh guy who picked him and developed him and all that. He'll be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's fantastic. And both of these guys, Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, are the kind of rangy linebacker that can do a lot of the things that Fred Warner has done for the 49ers. Now, Warner's more of a finesse guy, and both of these guys have enough finesse, but they're really more physical than Warner probably. Either way, they can play the same role, and the solid defense relies a lot on the defensive lineman busting through a gap eating up offensive linemen and then letting the linebackers run, especially the middle linebacker, especially the Fred Warner linebacker. And so the linebacker really is the one that's set up to be the star. And, so you look at Bailey, elite pass rusher, not shown to be a great run blocker yet, run defender yet. So what do you do with the guy? And then Bain, Robert Saleh just said that he wants long-armed players. Well, Bain, pending his measurements at the combine, is said to have short arms. And so maybe at the number 4 pick, he doesn't want to go outside of his paradigm, but he's got 2 long, rangy, fantastically athletic linebackers he can choose from to put in the Fred Warner role. And I think that's an intriguing thought as we sit at this point of the evaluation process.
All right, I got a question for both of you guys.
Uh-huh.
Was short arms a thing when you guys were playing?
Not that I know. Not that I know of. Not at least for wide receivers. I didn't even think about it.
But even for anything in general, I just don't remember that being part of the vernacular until, I don't know, maybe 7-10 years ago. What about you, Trevor?
It complicates things if you have short arms. And certainly in line play. If you talk about Reuben Bain in particular, if you've got tall offensive tackles, then he's going to get his hands on you before you can get your hand to his body because he's taller. But Bain faced that in college, and he defeated all those longer, taller tackles with technique and with power. And so, could he do it in the NFL? I think he will. I think he's worthy of the 4th pick. That's my opinion. But I think there's a concern about that. And when on the other side, when you talk about offensive line, take a look at Peter Skoronski playing left guard for the Titans right now. He was an elite left tackle at Northwestern. They drafted him and moved him into guard in part because he had short arms. Well, if you've got a long-armed pass rusher going against a short-armed tackle, then that pass rusher can get his hands on your torso before you can get your hands on him. Then how do you adjust to that?
So I'm sure this has always been
by,
from a physics standpoint or leverage, all of those things. It's always been a
play, but it's prevalent now.
But it doesn't seem like it was emphasized back when you were playing, Trevor, or was it?
No, it wasn't emphasized that I know of as much. I mean, I didn't notice anybody talking about it much because it just becomes, well, then how do you play with that? Are you able to play through that? If you're a short-armed offensive tackle, okay, so the long-arm guy goes to get his hands on you, and you swat his hand down and you stab it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other way around. So how are you able to adjust to the limitations that you have and turn them into a strength? And so that's the real question. And so when you look at the tape of Reuben Bain, you wouldn't say, oh, that guy's nice, but he has short arms. You wouldn't say that.
Now, can you see him being and I'm not saying that he is this player, but sort of that prototypical size, a John Randall. He played many years, as you know, for Minnesota and is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I played against him, and he wore fearsome makeup at the time. Yeah, he said it was eye black under his eyes, but it wasn't. He painted his face. It was pretty fearsome, and I tell you, he was tough to block.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying Reuben Bain can play defensive end. I mean, he's listed right now at 6'3", about 275. Again, we'll see at the combine what he ends up being. But he's shown elite ability to pressure the passer and sack the passer and to get home and to play the run from the outside. But a lot of people are talking about his versatility to move in as a 3 technique and go against center guard, that kind of area like John Randall did. And I think that kind of versatility is in his favor as well. Because remember, guards, they're usually in there because their feet aren't quite as good and their arms are a little shorter, right? And Bain has shown the ability to beat the athletic guys with long arms.
Now, with all of this being said, and we discussed if Caleb Downs does go second to the Jets, do you think there's a possibility that the Titans can move out of that 4th pick and still get the player that they covet?
I think if they moved out of the 4th pick, they wouldn't be able to move down too far.
I would say like 2 spots, maybe 2 spots they move.
Yeah, if they could, that's good. I mean, 2 spots below them right now is Cleveland at number 6, right? And right below them are the Commanders at number 7. And I think they could. The question is, are the teams below them so hot on a guy that they think they have to move up to 4 to get that they're willing to give up capital to get there? I think the Titans could drop down 2 or 3 spots and still get a player that's going to be just as effective for them. The question is, since it's not going to be a quarterback that high, is somebody who's right below them thinking the same thing? Well, yeah, we don't need to be at number 4 because we can get somebody that's going to be just as effective for us at number 5 or number 6 or number 7. That's the problem they have with moving down like that. If they move down farther, then they lose the opportunity to take one of the few true elite difference makers available in this draft.
Now, Ty Simpson said he is throwing at the combine, and a lot of people are saying that's the right thing for him to do, considering, how the end of his season looked. And a lot of it was because of injury, and the offensive line was bad. But how do you see, or what do you envision of Ty Simpson? Is he a legit first rounder, or is he a guy that you can get in the second round?
He's one of those guys, Derek, that's really hard to mock and to evaluate because, he had a terrible first game against Florida State. This is his only full-time year as a starter this last year at Alabama. Then he was incredible for the next 2 months. Then he kind of fell off a little bit. And how much of that was him and how much was the fact that they couldn't run the ball, et cetera, I don't know. I don't know what his ceiling really is because his sample size is so small with just 1 year. Now, he's a coach's kid. He's got great football intelligence. He's accurate enough. I think he's got the ability to be a late first-round draft choice for somebody, and he might be. I think the Rams right now are a team that could take a quarterback like that and develop him while Stafford is playing out his career. But he also might just not be all that good. And again, the fear in the first round, especially for GMs, is them getting fired. The job of a GM when he drafts is not to get the best guy. It's to not get the guy that's going to get him fired, right? And so there's more question marks about Ty Simpson because of the lack of sample size and some of the inconsistency if he goes in the first round. Now, second round and below, I think now you're safe as a GM. And frankly, I think he's going to have a good career in the NFL as a steady quarterback, but that's just what I speculate based on what I've seen in one season of watching him.
Trevor, great stuff as always. And we'll ponder this as we say goodbye for today. I don't know what the track record is traditionally of arm length of sports talk show hosts, but we'll have to do our research to see if we, would have been downgraded in our draft year if that was the case. I don't know.
You know what, Willie, I think the most important thing we need is the arm length of Adam's baby.
Yes, because then we can really project out Eliza's future as an athlete or a sports talk show host or anything in between. We'll see. But I think her future is bright. Trevor, we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. All right, Trevor Maddich joining us here. Great stuff as always here on DVD. He joins us every week at this time, and he is brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Barry Trotz coming up at 5, and when we come back, we're going to give you a chance to win tickets to the Predators game against the Red Wings Monday at 1 o'clock. So stay tuned. Your chance to win is next. All right. We've been promising this all afternoon. And with Barry Trotz coming up at 5 o'clock, it is time to give away some tickets to the Predators Red Wings game Monday at 1 p.m. Yes, Monday, 1 p.m. And you're saying, wait a minute, is that what holiday is that? Is that a random?
Is there's some new
day?
holiday that we don't know about?
We're not. It's designed to broadcast this game in prime time over in Europe. And so that game, just if you're going to go anyway, just make note of that change because it was not originally like that. So let's give away some tickets to Preds Red Wings. Red Wings are having a really good year. It looks like this is the year. They're going to break the drought of about a decade of not going to the playoffs. So here's what we got. Let's keep the Olympic theme going. And let's ask this question. If you want to go to the Predators Red Wings game, you call 615-737-1025. You have to call. You cannot text the text line for this. We had this problem yesterday. We had a bunch of people text the correct answer, but it was to no avail because you had to call. So with the Olympic theme, let's go with the name of the player that scored the golden goal in the women's gold medal game. Full name. First and last name of the game-winning goal scorer in the women's gold medal game for Team USA. What is her name? 737-1025. Our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So, Derek, let's wrap up a couple things that we heard from Trevor. I thought that was a really interesting thing in light of our discussion about Aguilar and all these other things. It is going to be interesting in about 10 or 20 years when we start to have a whole group of kids that have grown up eyeing the NIL. How do I maximize my college experience? How is it going to evolve over the next few years? But then really, what are we turning out as people who go to college? There's going to be a percentage of college students who make a lot more money during those ages than ever thought before. But I think Trevor had as good a take as you can have. It's all responsibility. So I would hope that as kids come up through the ranks now, I hope the adults around them can prepare them for how to do this right. In other words, let's avoid the pitfalls when possible. Some people are just going to find the pitfalls. It's just a natural fact, right? But I just hope that right now, when it's all so new, there's not as many people that fall into the pitfalls 4 or 5 years from now, as they maybe learn from people's mistakes. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah, but I think this sort of period in our lives, at least when we're talking about college sports, I think we would look back at it as sort of the time that athletes took back their power. Because for so many years, and I'm just talking about colleges, I'm talking about sports within college, because so many years, what was the talk? Players need to be getting paid, and colleges, no, this is amateur sport. You don't need to be, all while they're making a lot of money.
For years and years.
Years and years. And then finally, and this started back with the O'Bannon brothers, they sort of cracked the door open.
With the video game.
With the video game. And then they went retroactive and they started paying players, for their likeness on the video games. And they didn't think that once that door was cracked, that it was like a flood wasn't going to come through. It took some years, but the flood came through. And this is what we have, a period where athletes are taking back their power, their earning power. They're taking back their earning power and they're using it in a way to enrich them and their families, or to start business or whatever. Some people blow it. It is what it is. But I think you had those, like, that was there regardless, because some kids, we talked about it for many years, the one and done. Some kids not even going to college, straight out to college and NBA. So this isn't like a new conversation. It's bigger because now they're getting paid. And honestly, when I look at it, and you're right, because I tell my kids the same thing. Listen, you need your degree, and damn it, you're gonna get it. And they have gotten their degree. But they're also seeing, these kids are also seeing people with degrees that working at the same place that person is without a degree.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I know we're just talking about sports, and you're right. If you're going to spend, 4, 5 years in college, 6 years in college, then yeah, you should, especially now when you're able to make money. But a lot of these kids, they're not spending 3 and 4. We just hear about the kids transferring, but a lot of these kids some of these kids that are transferring, all of them are not getting that extra year. And their colleges, well, their credits aren't transferring. So some of these kids leave school after 4 years without the degree. Either way. So this stuff has been happening, and it's going to continue to happen. But what you're saying is right. If you're going to continue to transfer, and ask for 4, 5, 6 years, or 5 and 6 years, then at least get your degree within that.
And I hope that their advisor, their agent, is telling them to do that.
Mhm.
If you're just throwing it to your advisor, your agent, and saying, get me the most money I can get, and you're not paying any attention to any of this, I worry.
Yeah.
My theory is the younger you are, the more prone you are to
Making bad mistakes,
to fall into these
financial
issues
mistakes
that can hurt you. Yeah, we've all, I don't know how many people have seen it by now, but a lot of people have seen the 30 for 30 called Broke. There's some really sad stories.
Oh,
People,
absolutely.
professionals that made a ton of money, men, women from all different sports, all different backgrounds. They blew it. They went broke. They spent it all. So I think when you're younger and you get more money, or you're more apt to just burn it, like the story that Trevor told about the bonus baby that bought the really nice car and had nothing to show for it after he got cut, other than the car, which was not worth a whole lot.
No, you're right. But wouldn't you? I believe that these kids are a lot smarter. And I'm not talking about every kid.
Not every kid.
I'm just saying, I believe the majority of the kids now are smarter.
I hope so.
So
I don't know that.
They're thinking, save, start a business, do something to try to generate. I want to believe, I want to believe these kids, because I didn't know about this stuff when I was in college. I didn't know how to manage money and all this other stuff.
I thought if I had $400 in the bank, I was rich.
Exactly. So it was like, but
I'm set for the summer.
They didn't, I saw my mom and dad writing out checks and balancing their checkbook and everything else. But nobody came to me with a bunch of money and said, here, hell, they ain't coming to me with no money and said, here, come and play at my college. So I tend to believe that the things that I didn't know then, if I can go back to college and say be 18, but knowing the same things that I know, I would make smarter decisions financially.
Here are 2 texts that I think are pretty good, and they both represent sort of opposite sides of this. Derek in Nashville says, if we're honest, how many kids will graduate with a degree that they never used, even outside of athletics? That's true sometimes. I still think you're better off going through the process.
You're right.
But he says a kid graduating with $500,000 in the bank, well invested, well connected, is worth far more than a college degree at this point in our society. The way college is set up.
There's some truth in that.
There's a lot of truth to that. But the question is, do you know what to do with the $500,000, or do you go buy the sports car? Do you live a great life? We have these pictures of college teams where all the players outside of the locker room, they got all these really nice cars.
Usually
that
is in addition to them giving you money. So that's just one of the perks. You're not paying for the car; they're giving it to you.
Well, if they're doing that, that's even better. All right, we're out of time. We'll have to pick this up another, because we got Barry Trotz coming on. Barry Trotz will join us here in just a moment here on 102.5 The Game. Teammates Figgin and Donick coming your way here on 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason here with you. And we are talking to Barry Trotz, the Predators general manager, as we do every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. The Olympics are over. We are glad to have that in the rear view. What an amazing experience that was over in Italy. And the season resumes on Thursday night. Barry, I hope your batteries are recharged, but I've got to ask you right off the bat, where were you watching and what was that like? Because, wow, what an amazing tournament.
I was watching at home. I was like everybody else. I got up early and put my slippers on and got a coffee to get myself up early and awake and started watching some hockey.
So just your thoughts on the game. The thing that jumped out to a lot of the experts, especially the ones that were there on hand, was just how fast the game was being played.
Yeah, it was played at the highest level. I mean, you had the best players playing under probably the biggest microscope they've ever been under, with the intensity off the charts. You had the best hockey that really the world can provide at this moment in time. I mean, outstanding talent, outstanding speed, big moments, be it great saves, great opportunities, and it comes down to one play. How great is it? The only thing I wish for a game that was played at a better time for the whole, I'll say, Western Hemisphere to see it at more reasonable hours, especially the people on the West Coast.
Yeah, the people on the West Coast, boy, they had an early wake-up call for sure. Barry Trotz is brought to you by Green Ventures Landscaping and Gary Force Acura here on 102.5 The Game. So, Barry, like you said, it's a game of inches. In the 3-on-3, like Cale Makar comes within maybe a fraction of a second of stealing the pass and having maybe a dead breakaway to win it for Canada. He can't quite get it. It's tipped ahead of him by Jack Hughes, who races down. Werenski wins a battle, passes to him. It's so amazing. 3-on-3 opens up so many possibilities. Like, it would be hard to imagine Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, and Connor McDavid having the winning goal scored against them, three players of that magnitude. But in 3-on-3, it's so quick that what happens, that really anything can happen.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, isn't that scary when you just name those three names? You're going, there's no way that they're going to get scored on.
Mm-hmm.
They can all defend. They can all create offense. There's very few people on the planet that even can escape with them. And you're right. I mean, if Cale Makar gets that puck, which I thought he was going to get, I couldn't believe that my first thought was the two other American players had already left the zone, and there's a loose puck, and Jack Hughes was able to just touch it before Cale Makar, and it pops over, and it could have been a 2 or 3-on-0 the other way for Canada, but Jack got it and moved it up, and lo and behold, he scores the winning goal. So it's milliseconds and just, a centimeter here, a centimeter there.
Do you think that in future Olympics they should rethink it and have the gold medal game be 5-on-5 until it ends?
I thought we had this discussion. It opens up so many hockey sort of discussions, the 3-on-3 in the Olympics, and I know why they probably do it. I would like to see probably a 10-minute 5-on-5, or one period 5-on-5, and then go to a 3-on-3. I do not want it to end in a shootout. That would be the worst. But I would like to see a little bit of 5-on-5, or at least 4-on-4, before we got to the 3-on-3. But that's a discussion for people in a lot higher position than I am.
We'll talk with Barry Trotz, National Predators GM. Now, Barry, you guys have called Zach LaRue back up, and this is not his first time back up on the team. He was back up on the team, I think, last November or somewhere around there. But because of injury, he wasn't able to play. What did you guys see from him in Milwaukee, and what do you and Coach Bruno envision his role being here?
Well, it was quite simply, Zach has been the most impactful player in Milwaukee, probably game in and game out. I think at times we've called the guys like Reed Schaefer up, but once Zach got healthy, because he got an earlier call up before Christmas. I think you said it in November, and he had actually took a slap shot in Milwaukee. I believe it was in San Jose, and he kept playing on it. And everybody, we felt it was a bone bruise. Everybody couldn't find anything in terms of all the imaging. Our medical team found everything, and then we called him up as an extra guy because he deserved to be the first call up. And he was in the gym and doing some workouts, and then he came in with our doctors, we have just a wonderful team of doctors from Vanderbilt. He just said, how's your foot? And he said, it's actually getting a little bit sore. And they did some tests, looked at it even further, and they found that he would need some time off. And so he didn't get an opportunity to play last time. So he went back down after, rehab and getting better. And he was playing impactful minutes, having big impact on the every game. And we stayed healthy. So, and now that at the trade deadline, we moved, guys like Matthew Wood and Seshkov, give him some time down there, that Zach continued to be the player that was having the biggest impact. So he's the guy that's up, and he's going to play, I think a similar role of what he did last, I'll say January, or actually February, March last year, where he's killing penalties. He's playing, defensive type roles, but he may get a little boost up in maybe a third hole line with maybe a Marcia So or someone like that. So he's deserved to come up. So I think every time a player comes up, and especially if they're ready, and Zach has shown that he's ready for that call up, that he'll make it very difficult for us to have him go down again if ever. So that's what I expect from Zach. That once they get a taste of it, they don't want to go back down.
Now, Finland gets the bronze, and UC plays extremely well. Are you anticipating, now that the season is getting ramped back up and you guys got to make this push for the playoffs, do you expect some of that momentum that UC had in the Olympics to translate to the second half of the season?
I think so. Obviously, the Finnish national team is probably a little stronger than the Nashville Predators as a team, but I think Juice has had a really solid year. I think just like anybody else in our team, the start wasn't where we wanted it to be from everybody, so it affected his play. But he's, in this last, I'll say 2.5 months, I could say the difference in the game. I know I've gone downstairs, and we've been a slow starting team, and I have said that, we're down 2-0, we come back and win hockey games. But the real difference was when it was 2-0, that UC Saros has made 2 or 3 huge saves to keep it 2-0 or 2-1 to keep us in the game rather than extend it. So I thought he's been pretty solid for a long, long time, and he showed it in the Olympics. And I'm very, very proud of what he did, because that is high caliber, high quality. And you look what he did against the Canadians. I mean, he was Connor Hellebuck for the Finnish team against the Canadians. And unfortunately, Canada got the victory in the end on the power play, but he was outstanding, and I'm hoping he comes back and does the same for us.
Barry Trotz is with us. And Barry, along those lines, UC Saros, he had outstanding numbers in the entire tournament. He played all of the minutes. And, of course, as we know, he is a guy that shoulders a lot of the load year in and year out as the starter. So this is probably a better question for Andrew Burnett, that he'll get I would guess, on Thursday. But does there need to be a little bit of managing his workload, knowing that he had to work so hard?
Yeah, no question. It's been a little bit of a concern all, I would say the last couple of years, anyways, that you want to keep a little tread on Juice, but Juice likes to play lots. The coaching staff and especially the goaltending department have changed a lot of his routines. I mean, Juice used to go out for morning skate a lot of times and be out there for, basically an hour 15 on game day, which was insane. Now they have him, 25 minutes. We have a third e-bug goalie, if you will, that can come in and, sort of deal with that sort of workload. So we have been being creative to get a little bit of the workload off, but we just got to get him back to Nashville. He's not even back in Nashville tonight. He got flown right into the storm.
Oh,
so
boy.
Him and Eric Halla have not returned to Nashville as of yet.
Oh, boy, that storm is causing a lot of issues up north, for sure.
Yeah.
So with that in
He would
mind,
have been better off going to Miami.
yeah, he could have hopped in. They should have followed the other plane, I guess. Those guys look like they're having a good time down there.
They certainly do.
So, Barry, that is something that I know will be a huge theme for every team around the league. Is regardless of how many Olympians you had playing, how many got eliminated early that were playing, or just the guys that haven't played a game in 3 weeks, being able to jump back in and be efficient right from the gate. The teams that can do it are going to get a big advantage here at a critical time of the year. What goes through your mind if you're a coach? How do you try to turn that light on as quick as possible?
Well, I think, as a coach, you've got a number of different problems. For some teams that didn't have any of the Olympians, they've got all their guys there. They're probably doing some team building. They're working on their systems. They've got some continuity within them. A good example might be we're playing Chicago coming out of the break. I believe they only had Carolina maybe is the only player there. So they'll probably have a lot of continuity with their group in terms of lines and that. Now they haven't played for a while, but they're a young group, so they'd be probably looking forward to playing hockey games again. On the other end, I think our next game is Dallas, who, they're probably like us, though they have a lot of Finnish players. Their Finns are, I know that some of them just are on their way back this afternoon. We're expecting to get Juice and Halla back a little later tonight. They had a lot of their group out, so there's probably not a lot of continuity in terms of their group, because they probably only had 13 or 14 practicing players for the most part, and you're going to get a bunch of guys coming back from the Olympics. So that's going to be for the Finns that are coming back. I mean, it'll be a little bit different. They just came off an incredible high, the Olympians, and I know that the U.S. Team, all the Olympians that are back, in D.C. tonight or in Miami yesterday. I mean, I would say to all the people watching, please do not criticize those young men if they miss a game. A lot of teams are going to keep their guys out, but please, if you're a hockey fan, if you're a sports fan, if you're a fan of these guys have just got to the top of the mountain, and one of the things that you learn in life is that you get to the top of the mountain, you want to have an opportunity to enjoy the moment, and sometimes that moment is lasts for weeks, but sometimes that moment, if you can just have that moment, it's a couple days, and then they'll come down to earth and get back to being good teammates and being responsible players and the key to their franchises. So please don't judge those men because they've done something great for their country. And, it's really important because there's teams that are on the, I'll say on the bubble, and they might be missing one or two of their top players because, they happen to be Americans. So those guys deserve that moment is what I guess what I'm saying. Because they're in a brotherhood forever.
It was really interesting. You could see that, you could feel that with with both teams, really, how hard they had worked, how much they loved playing for one another and for their country. So that's a great point. And at the same time, I think there's just going to be this hunger to watch hockey too, probably even from some fans that are new fans. Don't you think, Barry, with some of the games? I'm curious what Thursday looks like. I think people are going to be excited to watch a hockey game.
Yeah, I think so. I think, trust me, it's not going to be the same hockey that we just got to see in the finals. Because that's the highest level that you'll ever see. But I think you're right. I think there's an appetite for the game. I think the Olympics was fantastic for our sport, just as the Four Nations was, and it continues to grow. Worldwide. I mean, we're seeing, we're doing, broadcasts in nations that don't have a lot of hockey, and that's a good thing because there's more and more hockey players around the world enjoying our great game.
And you're absolutely right about that, Barry. Also, too, the women's team. Did you get a chance? And if you did or didn't, what do you think? How much of a progress has the women's hockey league and women's in general when it comes to hockey? How much is it grown over the years to you?
It's grown quite tremendously, and it's still got a lot of growth. You think about it, the women's game. I remember watching the women's game, 10 years ago, and the shots weren't very hard. The skill level wasn't very high, and it's continued to get higher and higher in the speed of the game, the pace of the game. The things that the women are doing at this level is extremely impressive. And I'll tell you what, the women's game continues to grow. And if you talk to any woman who's played the game or is learning the game, they are as passionate as the men. And the more and more the women play the game, the more and more you're going to see that level of play continue to go higher and higher. And it's impressive now, and it's going to be even more impressive in the future because it's really opening up a whole nother fan base, if you will, for our game, and a whole nother level of passion for our game. Especially from the women, it has been absolutely wonderful to watch. And that U.S. women's team, they were impressive, and they're going to be the absolute force for all the years going forward. I just think the U.S. women are going to be very, very dominant.
That's pretty cool. Barry, before we let you go, last thing for you. I realize that this is all hypothetical. We could hang up this call and you could get a call of an offer you can't refuse, and there could be a deal tonight. But is your sense now that it's more likely that teams will take it right to the wire with the trade decisions, or do you think we'll see something that starts the dominoes rolling?
I think you're going to see. I'm talking to most of everybody wants to do something that is in the playoffs right now. They want to do something immediate. And so they're trying to get ahead of it, and get, I'll say bargain prices right now. They're trying to do that. I would say teams that are, needing to watch their team the next couple of games, a lot of teams that I've talked to that, you ask them, are you fully in now, or are you out? Or they're like, I've got 3 games in 4 nights. That'll say a lot to which direction we're going to point more. And a lot of teams are in that position where they go, you know what, I'm going to go through the weekend, see where we are. And I'm going at that point, if, we have a good 3 games, I'm going to be in, and I'm going to be all in. And if we are in between, then I may not do anything and just nibble. And if we don't do well, we may be in sell mode. So I would say there's probably, 6 or 7, 8 teams sort of in that mode. And then there's probably 10 or 12 teams that are, we know we're going to be there. The level of we're going to do something. We'd rather do it now, but everybody's trying to just see exactly where they sit, and the prices quite haven't been established yet. You saw one trade, I think, today with Colorado and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh moving Kulak to Colorado for Girard, and basically Colorado giving them a second round to take Girard off their hands and take Kulak, who's he's a veteran player, but at a cheaper price, so they got more flexibility.
Gotcha. Hey, Barry, thanks a lot for joining us. Great insight throughout the tournament. Back at it here, and we'll talk to you again next week. We'll see you at the rink on Thursday.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right. That's Barry Trotz, Predators General Manager. His segment is presented by Green Ventures Landscaping and Gary Force Acura. We'll react to some of the things he said right there, especially in terms of the trade deadline when we come back. So stay tuned. You're listening to DVD here on 102.5 The Game. DVD rolling on here on this Tuesday afternoon. Sun starting to set here. Hope everybody's driving safe. Willie Donick, Derek Mason here with you. Good stuff from Barry Trotz. I love the insight on the women's game, the Olympic tournament as a whole, and shared some interesting little nuggets there just about the logistics of getting back to your team. And he mentioned that UC Saros and Eric Halla from Team Finland still haven't made it back because of all the weather complications. You may
but
have
they're
seen
in the
this.
state. Are they in the state?
He says he's hoping that they'll get here. I think he said later tonight or tomorrow, just depending on how they end up.
Weather, yeah.
And you saw that the team USA diverted to Miami. They were going to fly to New York, but the weather, there's just a brutal snowstorm, a nor'easter, as they call it up there. I mean, they're just getting buried.
Yes, they are.
So I just wonder how many players that's affecting. I guess it'll become more clear in the next day or two when teams are actually hitting the ice and playing for the first time. But, you know, that's an interesting thought. These first games where you haven't played in 3 weeks, even if you didn't play in the tournament, you got to be a little rusty. Even though you practice, you probably have fresh legs. But the sharpness, and then you're interspersing a couple of players who did play. They're in a different spot. But who's going to be able to look good, look sharp at such a critical time of the year? And you think about the Predators. If they stumble the first weekend, then that's going to make it even more likely that they trade some guys. And on the other side, if they win 3 in a row, who knows what it could look like. But isn't it crazy that decisions get made? You heard him when I was asking about how he thinks the trade deadline is going to go. How many of the GMs have called him and said, well, I'm going to wait to see, do we win a couple? Do we lose a couple when we start playing back? You got an 82-game season, and the GM is making decisions based on how a team plays in a 2 or 3 game sample when you've had 3 weeks off. That's a tough thing to try to wrap your arms around, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Predators are sort of in that same boat too.
Oh, no question.
You know,
I don't. He didn't reveal what his thoughts were, but
you got to believe
part
that
of it. Yeah.
they're sort of in that same boat. That
they're on the bubble.
That first 3 or 4 games, if you come out flat, then you know it's like, okay, what do we do? Unless the teams in front of you are also a few teams in front of you that are also flat, or right behind you that are also flat too. So then what do you do when, say, those teams around you, those 2 or 3 teams around you that are vying for that spot, what if they're flat too? Do you still make your decision based upon your 3 games or 4 games, or do you make it based upon everyone that's involved in potentially taking away that spot?
I thought it was interesting. He said he doesn't feel like the price is set yet for most of these deals. There was a deal today that he referenced, and it involved a guy that was drafted by the Predators, Sammy Girard. He was involved way back in that 3-way trade that ended up bringing, I know, Kyle Turris to the Predators. That it's a trade that people look back on and say, what happened? What happened? It seemed good at the time. Kyle Turris was good for about a half a season, then really started to dip. And this was a powerful Predators team, but Sam Girard was a young, up-and-coming defenseman that went to Colorado in that deal. He goes to Pittsburgh in a deal today. So I don't think that's the kind of deal that's going to get the dominoes flowing, but it just shows you that at any moment you could have a trade. But I thought it was interesting that Barry Trotz feels like the prices are going to change. Maybe your final offer isn't in yet because of all these things we're talking about.
Okay, based on what you've seen, and I know Barry gave his answer, and I'm not saying that Barry's answer isn't enough, because it is. He's the GM of that team. He knows. But what have you seen from Zach LaRue when he, his time here, and then now the bulk of his time in Milwaukee, and now he gets the opportunity to come up, and how do you envision this team being different with him out there?
It's a great question, because he's a little bit of a forgotten man because of he's had 2 different injuries that set him behind. He had one in training camp, and then, as Barry Trotz said, he got injured and he wasn't really sure that he was injured. He thought it was just a bruise he was playing through. Then they found out it was broken. So he had to sit out for another month or so while it healed. And so that really set him back. from what I could see, and I haven't watched all of Milwaukee's games, he certainly had some big goals. He's had some overtime game winners. He's playing in all the situations. He's being counted on a really young team. So I wonder how that has helped him develop. So I'm really curious to see what he looks like, because last year he definitely flashed some skill. He's a guy that has that ingredient to his game. He stirs it up. He likes to get under the other team's skin, but he's also got enough skill to do some damage, I think, potentially, as a guy that could chip in, maybe in a perfect world, 15 goals. Like if he could get to his maximum potential. And he's the kind of guy that you would love to take a jump and really show that he belongs. And maybe, Barry Trotz also, always is referring to, we're trying to build that next core gradually as some of the guys like Roman Josi and Steven Stamkos age a little bit more. Who are the young guys that jump in there? Well, Leroux is a great example of a guy that I could see doing what Luke Evangelista is doing, maybe not as many points, but just taking another step in his game. I could also see him leveling out and just not end up turning into anything. But that is such an essential thing, is in the coming years, what happens to Zach Leroux? What happens to Joachim Kemmel, right? These are first-round picks, right? These are guys that have flashed some good things. But can they break through, or are they just going to be guys that, well, they're okay, but we're looking for something better? It could go either way.
Well, I'm sure they're looking for it to be an upgrade with, both of those guys. And eventually a lot of these young guys that they're drafting high in the draft. Another one is Steven Stamkos. He has a no trade, no move clause.
Right.
He gets to dictate where he wants to go. And we talked about the next 3 or 4 games being critical. How do you think his market is going to be if indeed the Preds don't, come out of the break, on a winning streak?
I think that one you got to handle delicately because he's got the no move clause. I would be curious, because this is how it was. One thing that was evident in that Olympic tournament, if you can shoot, and look, the pace and everything that Barry was talking about was certainly the big thing, right? How blistering the tempo was. It was just flying out there. And Stamkos, he's still pretty fast for his age, and he's evolved his game. I would imagine that there are some people, especially with that shot in a playoff game, could say, Steven Stamkos could be the difference in winning a playoff series or losing a playoff series. So would they be interested in him? Well, he's got 2 years left with $8 million per year on the tab. So that's the first thing you got to decide is, are you willing to take that contract for 2 more years? If you are, then what are you offering in addition? Because I can see you calling me and say, look, I love Steven Stamkos. If he's willing to waive the no trade, I'll take him. But I'm taking $16 million off of your payroll. I'm opening up big cap space for you. I don't want to then throw in a bunch more. And so I don't know how that would sound back to the Predators or for Steven Stamkos. He would have to say, yeah, I'm willing to go there or not. So all that to say, I would be surprised if he got moved. I would be surprised. Jonathan Marchessault could be in a little different category because he hasn't clicked as well. And so I don't know. I don't know what that market's going to look like. I wonder what the talk is going to break up. I think you're going to hear a lot of talk on Eric Halla, who had an excellent tournament. You're going to get a lot of talk on Michael Bunting, and I think you're going to get a lot of talk on Michael McCarron. Those are 3 guys that have no trade protection, and they're free agents at the end of the year that don't have a new contract. So I think those are the logical guys that will get the most volume of calls. But as far as the value, Ryan O'Reilly, Stamkos have a ton of value, but they also are guys that they're holding the team together right now. So the team would change drastically if you moved one or both of those guys, I would say. So it's good stuff from Barry Trotz today. We'll talk more on Thursday from Bridgestone Arena when the team resumes play against the Blackhawks. And the Predators are on that bubble. That game is a big swing game as to setting the tone for what's to come in the 5 games they have before the trade deadline hits on March the 6th. We'll come back and we will wrap up today's show. We'll go back through some things that we've discussed and get you ready for tomorrow as well here on 102.5 The Game. Final segment here on DVD. Coming down the home stretch. We've had some good stuff from the Combine today. Robert Saleh talking. We had great interviews today with Mitch Light, with the Vanderbilt basketball outlook, the Joey Aguilar case. We had some great insights from Trevor Maddich today. Just talked to Barry Trotz. So a lot going on as we count down towards March Madness. Let's wind it back because we talked a lot of Robert Saleh's stuff in the first segment of the show. But the interesting thing that we hit on was Brian Daboll and the relationship that Daboll is going to have with Saleh, but also Daboll and Cam Ward, it's that trio
Mhm.
is gonna define so many things for the Titans over the next few years, it would seem.
I think it is. But I think something that also we're going to talk about tomorrow is a comment that Robert Salas made about Brian Daboll, him knowing that this may only be a 1-year deal. So to me, it's if you go in thinking about that and knowing that, who is the next guy up? You know, who is that next guy? Because you still have to keep that momentum of development with Cam Ward going. So this is where the next guy is important because
Now, do you think like I'm sure in the interview process it got talked about, right? It was some of I feel like Albert Breer talked about that aspect that Robert Saleh presented. Hey, if we get Daboll, here's my plan for if whoever the offensive coordinator is gets a head job. This is how we would do it. Is there a guy on the staff that you think about, or do you think it would be an outsider?
I'm not
sure. Or is it even worth thinking about at this point? Like the first things first, we got to hope that this works, right? He seemed pretty confident today that they're going to have success, and that's what you should say. But at the same time, until you do it, I don't know if it's worth the time to really look ahead and say, here's the guy I would have to replace Daboll. I mean, we got to get to point A before we can get to point B.
Well, I think, Borgonzi, when they made the announcement and people asked, well, what were some of the reasons why you chose to go with Robert Saleh? And he talked about, his plan for this team, his plan for certain things. And I have to believe that a part of that plan was who succeeds the offensive coordinator, because I'm sure he had a guy that he wanted to go after, and it probably was Brian Daboll. So if you want to go after Brian Daboll or one of these other, whether it was Haley, one of these other guys, you got to give me a plan of, we expect this offense to be much better. Our quarterback to be much better. What is your plan to replace the offensive coordinator? Because that has to be a real question. So I'm sure, they gave us a glimpse of sort of that question has been asked, and we loved his response.
Let's hear a little bit of that response. The Rich Eisen show today, they were asking a lot about this relationship between Saleh, Daboll, and Ward. Here's some of what was said.
With Daboll at the controls.
The expectations are going to be the same, and it's why I was so attracted to Daboll. And like I said, with the experience aspect, he's done it before.
Yeah.
He's done it with not once, but multiple times. He's a guy that we've had to go against several times. We've practiced against him. I just love the way he operates. I love the way I love his mindset. I love the way he speaks to his players. I love the confidence that he injects into his players, along with the accountability that he holds and the standard that he holds them to. He is a no-nonsense coach, but he does it in a way that still shows the love that these players need. And so when you're looking at a guy like Dabes, he's not going to be here long. We're going to have success. We're going to win a lot of football games. He's going to get another opportunity also.
4th over.
So pretty confident.
Yeah, he knows
he's only going to be here for a year.
A year, maybe 2. It's the same thing that happened with Matt LaFleur.
But is that overconfidence, or is that I think the preparedness is good. Would you have said that if you're the?
I think you got to be honest, because this is a guy that was up for head coaching jobs, meaning Brian Daboll.
Right.
So you have to be honest in your assessment of what you think is going to happen, if not next year, the year after, because you have confidence in the offensive coordinator that he's going to do such a good job that somebody's going to ask him to be a head coach again.
I would imagine that was probably part of the recruiting process too, of Saleh and the interview. Say, hey, look, we hope you use this time here to get another coaching job. We're rooting for you to do that. That's the right approach. I don't know if it's worth really thinking about all of what happens after that now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before you install everything. But boy, he does seem very confident. And the tail end of that question, the expectation level that he started his answer with was just going through Daboll quarterback by quarterback, Josh Allen, and some early returns on Daniel Jones and even Jackson Dart here recently. And as you mentioned, there was that whole process that he went through before the draft last year of really evaluating Cam Ward. So it does look like the table's set for Daboll to hit the ground running, especially with the news earlier this week that it looks like Cam Ward might be throwing earlier than people, at least in my mind. I didn't know if he was going to be throwing in March, but it does appear like he's going to at least be able to throw some in the coming month or so.
And they're going to bring him on slow. There's no need to rush him. As long as he's fully healthy and ready to go come July, mid-July, whenever I think they can report a little bit earlier now because they have a new head coach. So whenever that date is for the Titans, I'm sure Cam Ward will be ready to throw. You got what? 4 months almost, if not, 4 months really, to make sure that he's 100% once he step back on the field.
And it is apparent that with the process of getting Daboll in the fold, the relationship that Saleh already had with Daboll helped them win the competition. It's very clear that Daboll was sought after by a lot of teams. And he mentioned just how many teams, even more than normal, were looking for not just a head coach, but coordinators. There was a bunch of jobs open there.
Yeah, and he could have taken any job. But he chose to, come here and be a part of this coaching staff with a quarterback that he had evaluated. And, it seemed like they wanted to move up to get him. So now, second go around, you get a chance to actually coach the guy that you wanted. So I think that's a good thing.
All right, D-Mace, before we wrap this up, there's, as we referenced before, and Barry Trotz mentioned it, it's playing havoc with a lot of travel. Just getting the Olympic players back to their teams is a challenge, to say the least, for some of these guys. It's still ongoing. Hopefully they all make it in time for especially the teams that play tomorrow. But we were just looking at some clips of just how heavy the snow's been up in Massachusetts and New York. I know my in-laws are trying to get back up to Rhode Island. They've delayed for they just decided to stay here. They're visiting. They've decided to stay here for the next few days. Just said, let's clear it out. Let's not even try.
Let it get cleared out before
they've gotten, even for that area, just a huge amount of snow.
Oh, wow.
What's the most you ever had when you're growing up in Michigan?
Man. Goodness. I know we've had
Did you ever get up to 2 feet?
Oh, yeah. That 2 feet. That's nothing.
Okay.
That's nothing.
So Michigan. what was your protocol, you and your family, when you got the snow day? You and your siblings and your friends?
Well, first we had to shovel the snow.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. My dad made us shovel the snow because he would have to go to work. So we would have to shovel out the driveway, and then we had to shovel out the sidewalk and up to the front door. So we had to, because the mailman had to come. The mailman rains, sleet, or snow. We got to deliver the mail. So we had to make way for the mailman. And then after that, it was a free fall. You do what you want to. Just don't bring those muddy shoes and those snow-filled shoes in the house.
Was it a snowball fight? Did you have a big hill?
Was
there a good spot to ride the sleds or anything?
Unfortunately, in the city, there wasn't not much good places. And then the college right up the street, University of Detroit, they were a private school. So, they had sort of guards around their whole, so you couldn't go anywhere inside there to kind of slide down. But no, man, we would make do. We would push each other on the sled down, up and down the street. We even had chance, guy grabbed the back of a car and just slide, man. We did all types of things. You've seen people like holding on the back note, and I'm not lying, holding on to the back of buses, kind of like going down the street. You're like, what are they doing? But they used to do it.
I'm hoping now that we get to late February, I'm hoping that we're done with all that here.
I think
I'll tell you what, I was cold yesterday. It was bitter yesterday.
It was.
I was like, wait a minute, what happened to the sunny? We had the 55, 60 degree. So I'm hoping moving past it. I don't know if we've got one more big freeze. And it got really cold last night.
It really did. It was bad.
If I had to hedge my bet, I think we have one more cold week, or cold at least 3 days.
Do you think we get snow, or do you think we're done with snow?
Oh, let's not put that on the ether now.
I'm ready to turn the page.
I think we we may get snow.
This could be. Well, I mean, we have the forecast and everything, but we might on Take It to the Bank have to do a little prediction of will there be snow one more time before it gets warm for good?
One more time here in the next couple of weeks.
Before Easter or something like that. I don't know.
I guess you never know, but man, I'm just ready to. I'm ready to thaw out.
Hey, I'm with you, Willie. I'm getting older. My bones, they need a little bit warmth.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm not even 30 yet.
Of course, the Predators. Where do we go coming up? Columbus.
Oh boy,
Buffalo, Winnipeg.
So the warm spots.
I mean, they're sending us out
going
west.
to all warm spots.
All the best spots for warm weather.
All the best spots for hockey. That's
great spots for hockey. And man, I mean, it could have been April, and you still have, like, Terry Crisp always tells the story that one year in Calgary, the Flames had an alumni golf tournament on Memorial Day.
Wow.
And it was snowed out. We're talking Memorial Day.
I have cousins from Colorado that would tell me that it's snowing in April. I'm like,
see,
what?
Colorado, you expect that because of the mountains. But still April. Oh, well.
Well, we'll get through it. Hopefully in Nashville, we get some good baseball weather. The spring sports can get going. Let's see. All right. We're out of here for tonight. We're back at you tomorrow at 3:00. We've got Jonathan Hutton tomorrow. We've got a big Vanderbilt basketball game at Memorial Gym tomorrow night at 6, Vanderbilt and Georgia. So we've got a lot in store for the show tomorrow. We're looking forward to it. So until then, everybody be safe, and we'll hit you up tomorrow at 3.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful Tuesday. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music. Don't you forget about us, because we won't forget about you. See you tomorrow at 3. Tomorrow is an abbreviated show. We go from 3 to 5:30, and then
Vandy men's basketball goes.
Men's Vanderbilt play. So good luck to them tomorrow. Thank you. I appreciate it, David.
Senior night as well. Shout out to the seniors.
Exactly. There you go. And a shout out once again to the women's gold medal hockey team. Good job, ladies. Peace.